Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below, your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly for pricing, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing an Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch Limited Edition from the 2010 model year in 1,975 pieces in stainless steel. This is the Apollo Soyuz 35th anniversary commemorative. 42 millimeters in diameter. The watch is 14.3 millimeters thick. It uses a sapphire rather than the customary Moonwatch Hesselite. It is 48.5 millimeters lug-to-lug, and if you add the solid end links to the bracelet, it is 53.4 millimeters across the wrist with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. You get a good sense of the size. It is, like most Moonwatches, a little bit different in profile due to the sapphire. You can see it's a bit different aesthetically when you rotate it off axis. You don't get that same distortion as the thermoplastic, but you also don't get the scratches. I could recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference, as long as your wrist is oval in profile. If your wrist is round, I would say you probably want a 15 centimeter circumference wrist to wear this watch. You can see that it's not particularly thin, and although to fit underneath a jacket cuff, not tight dress sleeves. That said, it is a handsome watch that you will want to see. Good looking and comfortable. Taking a quick look at the bracelet, you can see it's a bit of a dress watch, sports watch hybrid. Like a sports watch, it has a large primary links, but it also has these polished intermediates down the center, an ovoid cross section with polished outer faces that give it a formality you won't find, for example, on a Rolex Oyster. Taking a quick look at the construction, you can see back in 2010, Omega was using pins and sleeves to assemble the bracelet, so you're going to need a block and punch if you wish to size this at home. Omega does give you other sizing options, though, as there are two divots drilled into the clasp, so you can use your strap tool to change the anchoring point of the bracelet and fine-tune the fit. The clasp is very solid, milled out from the solid as a matter of fact, with a single swing arm deployment and a twin trigger release. It's mechanically identical to the redoubtable Speedmaster clasps of the time, with the sole exception that it doesn't have the Speedmaster's dive extension built in, but it's a very solid, confidence-inspiring system, and you can see how intact and minimally, if ever, refinished this watch is, because the clasp engravings are just as deep as the day they left BN. Rolling over the case, this is a familiar case form, and it has been since 1964 when we got our first Speedmaster Professionals. We have the shear guard structures on the crown and pusher side, so protection against shearing or impact. We also have pump-style pushers and a polished crown, lyre-style lugs that turn inward with a satinated facet, and then outboard the bevels are polished with a thin satinated longitudinally brushed case band. You can see the underside of the tachymeter bezels all of high polish, and then the top features a black anodized aluminum insert. We do have that sapphire rather than a thermoplastic, and underneath it a spectacular dial that differs in a couple of respects from a standard Moonwatch. First, standard Moonwatch features printed indices and logo. This one features all polished appliques. Second, a standard Moonwatch does not feature contrasting tone-on-tone registers, whereas here we do get them. You can also see that the registers feature polished chapter rings for a touch of richness and luxury, and each of the dial and sub-registers is oxidized meteorite, so effectively a space rock for a moon watch. Now you can see outboard the Widmanstätten patterns, which are a sort of etched and then flash frozen stabilized iron oxide pattern. The idea is to create the ideal crystalline profile and then freeze it precisely so it will never proceed to a crust. So these are flash frozen oxidized iron components that will always look almost like ice crystals, and they're truly beautiful. Rolling the watch over, you can see, well, a commemorative case back. All the best from east and west. You can see this is the Apollo three-man crew era. You've got the three Apollo astronauts, and of course the names of the cosmonauts involved. You can see Apollo and Soyuz meeting in the name of peace during the Glasnost era. Or I should say détente, prior to Glasnost, but in the détente era over the Earth. A wonderful moment, and commemorated by this 35th anniversary special. Inside, though, it is standard Moonwatch, which means it is the same caliber with few changes that would have been flying back in 1975 when that Apollo Soyuz junction occurred. So it's the caliber 1861. The Apollo Soyuz guys would have used the 861. A few differences. This is an 18 joule movement, manual wind, 48-hour power reserve, 21.6 beat rate. It is a crisp and well-tuned cam and lateral clutch chronograph that is very tough, and it's based on the historic Lamagna 1873 Bausch. Very, very sturdy and well-tuned movement. Although it's not a certified chronometer, it can easily keep chronometer time. And although it's not a column wheel chronograph, it has that crisp feel and sound you get with a column wheel chronograph, such as the might of modern-day Omega and Swatch Group. So a very special movement, even though workmanlike, it is authentic as the actual movement flown by NASA. All of this 50 meters water resistant because they didn't want too much water resistance in a watch whose internal and external pressures might be changing dramatically and quickly in service. Reach out to tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back with the Apollo Soyuz 35th Anniversary Limited Edition.